Welcome to So Much to Talk About here at the Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Massachusetts. My pleasure and honor to have to my right and your left one of the foremost personalities in basketball and sports in general. He does NBA on ESPN ABC, as well as main columnist for the Washington Post, Mr. Michael Wilbon. Pleasure, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yes, indeed. And I wanted to ask you, I mean, what an amazing class with Michael Jordan, David Robinson, Jerry Sloan, John Stockton, and Vivian Stringer. With Michael Jordan and his impact on the game, you know, a lot of people were influenced by his athleticism, his flashiness, but not many people really talked about his defense, his intensity in playing the fun and having the fundamentals of playing the game the right way. So talk about how disappointing that is with this current generation of NBA players.
They took a lot of things that people take because they can see them. They're obvious. The athleticism, dunks. Michael was great at that, but he was fundamentally perhaps the most sound player. I mean, doing things with his left hand, playing defense. I mean, spacing on the floor. I mean, just movement and balance. And he was incredibly coachable, which you'll find if you ask Doug Collins or Phil Jackson or Dean Smith, even as great as he was. So he was, you know, in many ways, I guess there's no perfect athlete, and Michael would be the first to object to him being described that way. But he's pretty close. And that started with fundamentals, not with soaring. I mean, it was the soaring that we all identified with, but there's so much more.
And I wanted to ask you, with Jerry Sloan and John Stockton being inducted, do you think they're maybe a little disappointed that Karl Malone didn't retire a year before?
Yeah, they may be, but Karl isn't. I'm sure Karl liked at least having a chance with the Lakers that one year. But you know, it's interesting. If they had all gone in together, that would have been phenomenal. And Karl will go in now that he's eligible. Karl will be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and it sort of begins to complete the dream team. But it is even Sloan and Stockton, and Sloan and Jordan. I mean, I'm from Chicago. I grew up, Jerry Sloan was my idol, talking about defense and fundamentals. Jerry Sloan did not soar, but he was pretty damn tough on the floor. And so, yeah, and they have, I'm sure for John Stockton to have his coach go in, and for Jerry Sloan to have his point guard, his quarterback, his floor leader go in with him is incredibly special.
I wanted to ask you about the San Antonio Spurs, all the disappointment that David Robinson went through in the playoffs through the 90s, and then finally getting the big fundamental in Tim Duncan, getting that one person that, because usually to win a championship you have to have two superstars on the team. Yeah. So talk about how that really helped David Robinson to be able to be a mentor for Tim Duncan, but also to really elevated his game when Tim Duncan.
Well, David couldn't do it by himself, right? And Tim Duncan came along, and at that point, David, let's face it, David had 2-year commitment to the Navy, and then he played 14 years. And David was, you know, in double-digit seasons by the time Tim Duncan got there. David was a rookie in 1989, and he drafted in 87. So he'd been around 10 years, and really 12 seasons after college by the time Tim got there. And that's what you do need that. Michael Jordan needed Scottie Pippen. You know, Kareem needed Magic. You know, Lou Alcindor needed Oscar Robertson. Everybody needs a set. You cannot win by yourself. And David got close. So, you know, a conference championship series I remember against, I think, Portland also, where it looked like they could have broken through. But I watched David Robinson play in college, at Naval Academy, covering for the Washington Post, and I got to see the beginning of his career, and it was a wonderful thing to watch unfold. At the same time that Patrick Ewing and Len Bias were there, David Robinson played in the shadows, and so he's also sort of inducted in the shadows in a way with Michael Jordan. But I know David. I know he doesn't care. You know, that's his personality. And you know, having seen all of his career from his sophomore year at the Naval Academy until his retirement with the Spurs, it's been an incredible thing to watch. And no one had predicted this for him. A total late bloomer. You know, he grew 6 inches, I think, over a summer, 5 inches from 6'5" to 6'11" between his freshman and sophomore year at the Academy. And that set up a whole lot of stuff. And he took advantage of every bit of it. And I'm personally happy for him because I've known him most of my adult life and all of his.
Vivian Stringer, I call her the female Larry Brown, actually, you know, having success everywhere she went, absolutely. And talk about the impact she's had, not just in basketball, but socially.
Well, I mean, she's had a huge impact, and obviously some of that has been unwanted with the Rutgers team and what was directed at her most recently. But she handled that in an incredible way and turned it around and made people take a look at a lot of things culturally. And so Vivian Stringer, as I always refer to her, is a hell of a coach. And you have a great team if you had Sloan at the point, Sloan at the shooting guard, Stockton at the point, Michael at small forward, David at center. You could pick a power forward and Vivian Stringer coaching the team. I think they could see those guys would be smart enough to see past gender to do it.
Mr. Wilbon, thank you so much for the time and the opportunity.